Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jen Penarski, and I'm a communications officer here at the City of Kingston. You are in our public engagement session to talk about the Confederation Basin Promenade Project. 7:02 p.m. Not quite everyone who registered to participate tonight has joined us so far. We do have one attendee who is in the session. So tonight's session, I just have a few housekeeping items before we get started with our presentation. Tonight's session is live streamed, closed captioned, and recorded to the City of Kingston YouTube channel. And the videos and microphones are turned off until the Q&A session. When we get to the Q&A portion of the evening and you would like to ask a question verbally, we will turn on your microphone so we can hear from you. Going to give a few technology troubleshooting tips for you. If you have any problems with Zoom over the course of the evening, please use the chat function to ask a question and we'll do our best to help you. There are several view options in Zoom to help you get the most of your experience. You can also visit Get Involved Kingston for resources. If you get disconnected from Zoom, you can call into the meeting, and that number is 647-558-0588, and the webinar ID is 963-7166-8559, and you can always follow along on YouTube. There will be a formal Q&A portion of the evening, and here is how you can ask the project team some questions. You can ask a question in writing by typing in the Q&A area, and your name and question will be read out to participants. To ask a question verbally during the Q&A session, you can click on the raise hand tool, or if you're phoning in, please press *9 to raise your hand and we will turn on your microphone. We're also going to be using a tool called Mentimeter this evening. Not yet, but when we get there, these are the instructions, and I will also repeat them later on. Please go to Mentimeter you can use a mobile phone, your computer, browser, or a tablet, and the code will be 7544-2679. I will also add the link in the chat for you. And no worries, your participation in the Mentimeter part is anonymous. And if you have challenges with the technology, then we will make sure there will be other ways for you to share your feedback. Before we get started, I'm just going to leave up our guidelines for participation. This is your first time engaging with us, welcome. These guidelines for participation were developed with residents as part of our public engagement framework. And it helps guide the way that we as city staff interact with you and the way that you interact with us. If you have any concerns about the guidelines for participation, I'll just ask you to raise your hand and we can make sure that they're addressed. Leave these up for another minute. Okay, I don't see any concerns or questions about the guidelines for participation. So from here, I'm going to turn it over to Lori Paquin, who is the project manager for the Confederation Basin Promenade Project. Go ahead, Lori.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today and for using our new format for public engagement. My name is Lori Paquin, and I'm a project manager with Parks and Shoreline in Engineering Services. Welcome to our first public meeting and presentation for the Confederation Basin Promenade Project. Today, we're introducing the project and asking for your feedback on the proposed accessible walkway and public space experience to be constructed on the stone breakwall that forms the west arm of the Flora MacDonald Confederation Basin with access from Battery Park. Joining us today, we have Neil Unsworth, manager for Parks and Shoreline with Engineering Services, Julie Fawcett, manager for marketing and public engagement with communications and customer service, Councillor Hutchison for District 11, Kingstown, and our consultant team, the MBTW Group and Shoreplan Engineering. Once again, thank you for attending today's meeting, and please join me in welcoming Janet Joyce from the MBTW Group and Jane Graham with Shoreplan Engineering, who will together lead today's presentation. Next slide.
Great, thanks, Lori. Good day, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to participate in this presentation. My name is Janet Joyce, and I'm a principal and senior landscape architect at the MBTW Group in Toronto. I will be giving part of the presentation today along with my consulting team member, Jane Graham, who is a principal and senior coastal engineer with Shoreplan Engineering Limited. Both of us will also participate in the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. The agenda for today's event includes general information about the project, a summary of important things to know, information about the Promenade Project, a live Mentimeter interactive activity, followed by questions and meeting closeout. Next slide, please. The City of Kingston's current strategic plan is built upon 5 measurable priorities, one of which relates to the development of healthy citizens and vibrant spaces. Next slide, please. The first objective under the Foster Healthy Citizens and Vibrant Spaces priority includes the implementation of the Confederation Basin Breakwall Promenade Project, among other waterfront park rejuvenation initiatives. Next slide, please. The Confederation Basin Promenade Project proposes a new accessible walkway and public space experience built on the existing stone breakwall that shelters Flora MacDonald Confederation Basin. An artist rendering was prepared for the 2016 Waterfront Master Plan that shows what the promenade might look like. Next slide, please. The project area of consideration includes the entire existing breakwall structure, a portion of the basin, and a small section of Battery Park where the new promenade is proposed to connect. A portion of the basin is included in the scope of work to ensure that any proposed swimming features can be safely integrated into the project. Next slide, please. The 2016 Waterfront Master Plan process recommended the Promenade Project and established a high-level scope of work, which was approved by Council. Please do visit the project website if you'd like to see more information about the 2016 Waterfront Master Plan and the Promenade Project conceptual design process. Next slide, please. Public consultation will include opportunities for the community to provide feedback on this presentation. Please note that the Promenade Project presented today reflects the approved budget for the project. The council approved budget for the project is $2.695 million. Next slide, please. Today's meeting will be available on the city's YouTube channel with a link available on the project webpage. Live feedback is encouraged during the meeting and will be tabulated as part of the public engagement response. Please visit Get Involved Kingston to complete the survey and have your say on the Confederation Basin Promenade Project. A summary of the feedback received through Get Involved Kingston will be available on the project webpage a little bit later this summer. Next slide, please. Responses from this event will be provided to the consultant team and the city staff and will be used to inform the conceptual design, which will be presented to the public in the fall of 2021. This second event will provide further opportunity for public input. Please visit the city website and project page to stay up to date on the public engagement process. Your feedback is important in shaping the outcome of this unique and distinctive waterfront amenity. Next slide, please. As mentioned earlier, Lori Paquin is the project's project manager. And should you have any questions or wish to speak directly to her about the project, you're welcome to do so. Her phone number is 613-546-4291, extension 2128, and her email address is lpaquin@cityofkingston.ca. Next slide, please. The next part of this presentation introduces the design team and outlines what we have learned about the Promenade Project. The city has retained our consulting team, and we have been busy examining the existing conditions of the breakwall. This knowledge will help inform the future design and help establish parameters for the Promenade Project. For your information, the MBTW Group is a landscape architecture and urban design firm. Shore Plan Engineering specializes in coastal and structural engineering. Other team consultants include electrical and lighting engineering and creative design consulting. Next slide, please. The MBTW Group and Shore Plan Engineering Limited have worked together on numerous projects and have experience with construction in similar circumstances. For example, Tannery Park in the town of Oakville and the Frenchman's Bay Harbor entrance in Pickering share similar characteristics and challenges with the Promenade Project. I'll now hand the presentation over to Jane Graham, who will present information about the breakwall and proposed walkway solutions. All right, take it away, Jane.
Thanks, Jana. Hi, I'm Jane. So we're going to talk about the breakwall conditions. The breakwall has been inspected by the team in order to develop an understanding of how it was constructed in 1990. Investigations included the review of the construction drawings, detailed site inspection, and a detailed drone survey of the entire structure above water. Next slide, please. The breakwall has been constructed in a typical manner with an outer layer of large stone and an under layer of smaller stone, with both layers covering an inner core of stone. The inner layers are the most suitable part of the structure on which to support a walkway. It is important to note that the lake-facing side of the breakwall is subject to high wave energy and has been designed accordingly. Next slide, please. The Confederation Basin breakwall is impacted by large waves during storm events. To understand what forces will affect the proposed walkway, the design team has modeled the wave action for various conditions. Next slide, please. The worst case scenario is a large storm event during periods of high water levels when waves are coming from the west-southwest direction. Waves could be as high as 2.5 meters. The lake-facing side of the breakwall, and specifically the area at the bend, would be subject to the most significant wave action. Next slide. Oh. During storms, high winds, and periods of high water levels, waves will likely spray over top the lake-facing side of the breakwall and splash onto the proposed walkway. Wave spray can be expected to occur regularly. The design team, along with city staff, are evaluating how to make the walkway the safest it can be. Next slide, please. The breakwall is a significant structure within navigable waters. Navigation lighting is required and will continue to be in the future. The team has explored various options for constructing the walkway on the breakwall. Options considered include a core walkway, a concrete walkway on piles, a concrete walkway without piles, and a pile-supported deck. The concrete walkway without piles option may be the most suitable, given what we know about the conditions of the existing breakwall structure and the proposed project cost. This is an artist rendering showing what the walkway could look like. Building the walkway would require rearranging the large surface stones to make space for the walkway and constructing a low wall and below grade structure to resist wave action. The low wall would be located on the lake side of the walkway. I'll hand it back to Jana.
Great, thanks, Jane. Mentioned earlier, we did talk a little bit about the project budget. So just to review, a $2.695 million project budget was approved by Council for the Promenade Project. Preliminary estimates indicate that approximately 240 meters of walkway could be constructed for this amount. The 240 meter length of walkway would extend to approximately the bend in the breakwall structure. Next slide, please. The Promenade Project is comprised of 6 key components, and they include a connection to Battery Park, the Promenade walkway itself, including lighting, a lookout area at the bend, water's edge access amenity, seating opportunities, and artful elements. A description of each component is as follows. Next slide, please. A connection to Battery Park will be required where the breakwall meets the park. The design for this area could include the walkway connection with seating, the relocation of existing bollards, installation of electrical services, and adjustments to the outer layer of the breakwall stones. No changes are anticipated within Battery Park itself or to the waterfront pathway. Next slide, please. The promenade walkway is envisioned as a 3-meter wide concrete walking surface constructed with a low wall on the lake side of the walkway. The wall and its below-grade structure are necessary to protect the walkway from wave action forces. This is an artist's rendering of what the wall and the walkway could possibly look like. Next slide, please. The bend in the breakwall is a great location to take in views of the city, the lake, and surrounding features. The 240-meter promenade walkway will terminate at the proposed lookout area at the bend in the breakwall. This area could be widened to support some additional seating and viewing opportunities. Next slide, please. There is an opportunity to provide water's edge access on the basin side of the breakwall, where waters are protected and calmer. This feature may include a floating platform with direct access from the promenade walkway for swimming, small non-motorized watercraft use, model sailboats, fishing, and viewing. Buoys or markers may be used to indicate motorized boating limits in proximity to the floating platform. This will help protect the area from any residual electrical currents from nearby motorized watercraft. Next slide, please. Seating opportunities are proposed for various locations throughout the project and could include freestanding wood or stone seating, park benches, and seat walls. Next slide, please. There are opportunities to integrate subtle artful components that will support the uniqueness of the project. Artful components could include areas of special paving and wall treatments. There are opportunities to integrate lighting, including pathway lighting, similar to what has been installed in Breakwater Park. Next slide, please. So as a quick reminder, the Promenade project presented today reflects the approved budget for the project. In summary, the main features of the project include connection to Battery Park, the promenade walkway itself, including lighting, a lookout area at the bend in the breakwall, a water's edge access amenity, seating opportunities, and artful elements. The next part of the presentation introduces potential project enhancements. Next slide, please. Project enhancements are design upgrades not included in the current approved budget. Based on the results of public engagement and approval by City Council, project enhancements may be considered subject to the ability to secure diverse sources of funding. The city would like to know how you feel about project enhancements. The following is a description of what some possible project enhancements might be. Example A, extending the walkway to the existing lighthouse and providing a lookout at the base of the lighthouse structure. This would add approximately 230 meters of walkway length. Next slide, please. Example B spans 2 slides. So enhancements could include creating a larger entry area off Battery Park, upgraded site furnishings, bollard lighting, or custom architectural elements. Next slide, please. Example B enhancements could also include a widened promenade walkway to more than 3 meters wide and a community gateway sign. Example C, providing an enhanced swimming space amenity for improved deep water swimming experience. This feature could include a large floating platform system that provides a multifunction venue for competitive and informal swimming activities. Examples include the Winter Bath facility in Copenhagen or the Duckworth Docks in Portland, Oregon. Next slide, please. Example D shows examples of public art, and these could include things such as freestanding sculptures, interactive or integrated features. This is the end of the formal presentation. Now Jen will lead us through a fun and interactive exercise to collect feedback on the Confederation Basin Promenade project. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. So I see a couple more people have joined us this evening. So thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. The formal presentation has just concluded, and we're going to go on and we're going to use a tool called Mentimeter to collect feedback on the project itself and the proposed enhancements. I'm going to walk you through how to use Mentimeter. Just a couple of housekeeping tips. Your feedback is anonymous. This isn't the only way that we're going to receive feedback. So if you have questions about Mentimeter or aren't sure how to use it, no worries. We're accepting feedback in all manner that you can give it to us in. So I'm going to leave this slide up for a moment, and then I'm going to go over to Mentimeter. So please have a mobile phone, another computer browser, or your tablet handy. So for example, I have an iPhone here. Go to menti.com, and it will prompt you to enter a code. The code you will enter is 75442679. So since there's 3 attendees, what I'm going to do is, if I could just ask you, Colin, Yulia, and Lois, can you just use the raise hand function to let me know that you have connected to Mentimeter, okay? Perfect. Thanks, Colin. Everyone else okay? I'm also going to put the link in the chat so that if you are perfect, I see that a couple of people have participated. So our first question is, where do you live? So we would just a way to get to know you better. If you live outside of the Kingston area, you can just drop a pin anywhere. If you see your hometown in there, that's great. Or you can just drop a pin in the spot that's closest to you. So just give me a moment. I'm going to stop sharing this particular screen, and then I'm going to open up the Mentimeter one so that we can see how everyone is participating. Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to go on to our next one. So for this question, we would like to know what you value most about the existing site. So think about the things that you sense or feel, or like what you experience when you visit the existing site. So you can enter as many words as you like. And if at any time you have questions about Mentimeter or any questions about the technology that we're using, please enter them in the chat. So I see a couple of ideas coming in: massive opportunity, connection to water. Like I said, this one is where we're asking you about the experiences that you have at the existing site. Okay, oh, great. Eco recovery and tourism, away from cars. These are some great responses. I'll give everyone another 15 seconds or so, and then I'll move along to the next question. Okay, these are some great ideas for the project team. Our next question is, what should the city consider when developing the Promenade Project? So this one, you can enter as many ideas as you like. So Neil, at our session this afternoon, you'd given, I guess, like a bit of a preamble adding on to this, like what are some of the things that you would like residents to think about when responding to this question?
Thanks, Jen. I think we're just looking for some local knowledge. Our consultants and city staff have been reviewing this site for many, many years. And, we have public space understanding and technical understanding of the space, but what we would like to hear is if there's other experiences that residents have had themselves and would like to just tell us a little bit more. Always like to hear from the community. Thanks.
Thank you, Neil. So we've got one idea so far. You would like us to consider swimming access. Any other ideas that come to mind, that anything that you would like the city to consider? While you have your thinking caps on, I'll just also let you know that the presentation that you had tonight is also available on display panels down near Battery Park. So you can go and see this information in person in Battery Park. These are also the same questions that we're asking on Get Involved Kingston. So we also encourage you to register on Get Involved Kingston and to provide feedback there. Going to move along to our next question. What do you like most about the proposed Promenade project? So those are the items within the current budget that the project team talked about earlier this evening. So what are the things that you like most about the proposed Promenade project? And like the previous question, you can add as many responses here as you like. If you're just joining us or are following along on YouTube, you're welcome to join this session, the Mentimeter feedback part of it, by going to menti.com and entering the code 75442679. And you can do this from a mobile phone, an iPad, a tablet, or another internet browser. We're starting to get some ideas or what people like most about the project. It's a great way to enjoy the waterfront. I agree with that one. Expansion of the waterfront pathway. Yep, thank you. Lookout views is another item that's been dropped in to our Mentimeter exercise. Another downtown opportunity to swim. That's great. Thank you for sharing. Hey, this is great feedback. Going to go along. Oh, peaceful spot downtown. Another comment just under the wire before I was going to go along to the next slide. Oh, great. I just needed to put some pressure on everybody, saying that you had 5 seconds left to go, and now all the ideas are coming in. This is great. As a reminder, these questions are available in our Get Involved survey. So if something else comes to mind after the session, please go to Get Involved Kingston and complete the survey there. Okay, I'm going to go on to our final Mentimeter question this evening. This one's a little bit different than the ideas or than the questions that we used before. This one, what we're asking you to do is rank the enhancements below in order of your preference. So these are the items that are outside the current budget scope. I'm going to read them out. The way that it shows up on the device that you're using will vary. So if you're using a browser or a tablet, even an Android phone or an iPhone, it will look a little bit different. So for example, on an iPhone, I don't know if you can see from the glare, but I can scroll through to select which one I like. So the first option is, this was listed as A. Extend the walkway to the lighthouse and provide a lookout area. Widen the walkway and create an enhanced entry area, including upgraded public realm design elements. Enhance swimming space amenities for improved deep water swimming experience. Public art, including freestanding sculptures or interactive pieces. If you have any questions about Mentimeter, about the technology that we're using, or anything that we can do to help you complete the Mentimeter exercise, just let us know by dropping a message into the chat. And since we have a small group, you can also just use the raise hand function and we can talk through any technical problems you might have. Again, this is the same information. These are the same questions that are available on Get Involved Kingston. Okay, I hope everyone had a chance to complete this, this little exercise. Thank you for playing along with us. It is a new tool that we're using, so thank you very much for participating. I see, Ms. Catan, I see that you have your hand raised. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on your microphone, just in case you had any questions about Mentimeter. But we are getting to also the formal Q&A part of our evening. So it could be that you have a question about the project. So just bear with me while I switch screens. And you know what, I'm having a hard time. So Colin is with our IT department here, and I'm just having a hard time unmuting some of the attendees. Maybe you could help me, Colin. I see Ms. Catan, and forgive me if I am pronouncing your name wrong, if you can unmute her. Okay, you're unmuted. And could you, if you don't mind, could you let us know how you pronounce your name so that we can say it correctly for you? You're unmuted now.
Katen.
Okay, oh, we're getting a bit of feedback. Thanks, Ms. Katen. Do you have a question?
Yes. A lot of seniors are living very close to the park, and we are very much against all noise and lots of lights and parties on the dam.
Okay, thank you, Miss Caton. What I'm going to do, I'm getting quite a bit of, I guess, audio feedback from the device that you're calling in from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a pin in your question for a moment. I'm going to just review the questions and comments, how to provide feedback, and then I'll make sure that your question gets addressed. Okay, thank you very much. And feel free to continue to ask questions over the course of the session. Okay, so we are now in our formal Q&A portion of the engagement session, and this is how you can ask some questions. You can ask a question in writing by typing in the Q&A area, so there'll be a little Q&A button down on the bottom of your Zoom screen, and you can type that in there. And we will read out your first name and your question so that it can be addressed by the project team. The other thing that you can do is you can ask a question verbally, like Ms. Caton did, and you can click the raise hand button, and then we'll turn on your microphone. If you're phoning in, it doesn't look like anybody's phoned in tonight, but if you do, use *9 to raise your hand, and we will turn on your microphone. If you're using the typewritten Q&A, if you could just put the word project or proposed enhancements before you ask your question, that way we can make sure that we're addressing it and it will be reflected in the reporting out that way. So we do have a question from Colin, and they ask, will there be bicycle parking or public water fountains? Is there space for artist and merchant stands? And I just realized I skipped ahead to Colin's question before Ms. Caton's question about noise was addressed. Lori, Neil, can you address her concerns about noise?
Yes, Jen, I can take that question. Hi, it's Lori Paquin speaking. I know that you and I have spoken, I guess, a few weeks ago about similar concerns you have regarding noise and sort of a large number of people perhaps using the site, at least more so than you've seen to date. And we don't believe that, given the shape of the public space, the fact that it's a long linear walkway, that it is going to encourage people to want to linger the same way a space would, where you could actually pull up some chairs and set yourself down for a while. So I'm not entirely sure that there will be an issue with noise or necessarily with parties. And I know you also mentioned lighting. The lighting that we have proposed out there is fairly subtle pathway lighting. It will be downlit onto the path. At least this is the example that was used for breakwater. And once again, I don't believe it will encourage people to linger for a longer period of time. I hope that answers your question.
Ms. Caton, if you have any other questions over, as we go through the rest of the Q&A, please do let us know. You can ask them just like you did before we'll turn on your microphone again, or you can type them into the Q&A. So now I will go along to Colin's question, and he's got a couple in here. So there is his question about bicycle parking or public water fountains, and then space for an artist merchant stands. Go ahead, Jana. Thank you.
Yeah, I can start in on this response, and then perhaps Neil or Lori can kind of jump in. I think there's a couple of things to unpack with this question. In terms of bicycle parking or the public water fountain, I'm assuming that the public water fountain term is like for a drinking fountain. If that is the case, that level of detail will certainly be addressed as we move through the design process. So if those are items that the community is interested in incorporating into the design somehow, that will be assessed as we move forward. If the public water fountain, if you were thinking that that's like a water feature, which may not be the case, but if it was what your question was getting to, is within the current budget that is available and the information and combined with the information that we presented here today, we have not made an allowance for a water feature as part of the current budget. However, that's not to say if there was a large amount of support for it, that it could become an enhancement element. In terms of the space for the artists and merchant stands, Lori, just in her response to the last question, rightly pointed out that the shape of the promenade is quite narrow. At the moment, within sort of the base project, the promenade is 3 meters wide, which doesn't leave a lot of room for kiosks or like small market tents. So something like some places that could accommodate those kinds of uses may be more appropriate within Battery Park. But I would like perhaps Neil or Lori to make comment on that aspect of the question.
Sure, I can field that. I think that's a great comment. Certainly, a lot of the programming, including possibly even bicycle racks, will need to be, sort of in the much larger battery park mouth. Obviously, will be constrained by budget, but certainly bicycle parking is something we'll be looking at, and permits for public vending are something that can occur now through the public vending license process, and would likely better fit on battery. I can also maybe answer, Jana, on your behalf, that there was a question about adding shade and sheltered elements. So those features are certainly the kind of features we would see explored if the city were to receive a donation to enhance the project. And if the public was in favor of prioritizing money towards enhancing the actual architectural elements of the public realm, definitely shade shelters go hand in hand with more elaborate forms of lighting and furniture and space. So in the base budget that we have right now, no, there's no proposed shade elements. Thanks.
Thank you, Colin, for those great questions. I don't see any other questions that from anybody who has joined us this evening. Neil, you've answered Colin's follow-up question about shade structures. Just as a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, you can type it in the Q&A tool, or you can raise your hand to ask the project team verbally. So this is your opportunity. You have city staff, you have the project team at your disposal to answer any questions that you have about the Confederation Basin Promenade project. I'll let everyone think for a little bit while our attendees are pondering any questions that they have. Does the project team have anything that they would like to share about the project? Might prompt some questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any follow-up questions. Could be that it is a beautiful Monday evening and it's quite warm and sunny in Kingston, and everybody's eager to enjoy the rest of their evening. So with that, I'm going to do a few housekeeping things before we wrap. So again, thank you for spending your time with us this evening in this public engagement session. We have a short poll that we ask you to finish for us. There's just a couple of questions in it. And what this does is it gives us feedback specifically on the technology that we use today. That includes Mentimeter, if you liked it, how you found it, how you learned about the session, or just how you interacted with us on Zoom. So give everyone some time to complete that. The questions that we asked on Mentimeter, they're also available on Get Involved Kingston. So we encourage you to sign up to Get Involved Kingston and complete the survey. It's open until August 3rd. So that way you can enjoy those waterfront views down at the project site and then offer some feedback on what you think of those proposed enhancements. If you joined us a little bit late, or you would like to re-watch this presentation, it was closed captioned and recorded and is available on YouTube. We also had another session earlier today at 2:30 where you can also re-watch that one if you like. There were a couple of different questions asked during that one. You can also go down to Battery Park where there are display panels in place that outline the information that the project team shared with us today. So it looks like just about everyone has finished that evaluation poll. So thank you again on behalf of the city for joining us on this public engagement session. And on behalf of the project team, I wish everyone a pleasant evening. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.